And I can
One
talk
second,
about
one second, 1 second. What, Warren? We were just going live, bud. What's up? Welcome back, Braveheart Nation. I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe, and welcome to Infinite Iodine. And this is the Infinite Iodine Show. Now, why would we ever have a show about a product? Well, because Infinite Iodine is the world's only pure, non-toxic, oral vaccine. Infinite Iodine is the only pure iodine on the planet that has no toxic level. You know, whether you're taking just 5 sprays a day to actually keep sickness away and to help to support your thyroid, or you're taking 1.5 ounces because you've been declared that you have what they call the big C, we call stage 4 inflammation, all right? There is no side effects to it. And understand something right now, that we can't produce our own iodine. And understand, back in 1974, they took iodine out of all the foods. And then they put bromide in to stop and block any iodine from getting to your thyroid. Do we remember that? Remember how the beaches, everybody was lean, keen, and thin? And then all of a sudden, we got done in. We started putting on weight. We started getting fat, And then we started getting goiters, We started getting hypothyroid, hyperthyroid, We started getting Hashimoto's. And understand something. Hashimoto's is caused from anxiety mainly. But if you had the iodine coming into your body, it would have supported your thyroid. And even though that you have a terrorist living in your mind, you wouldn't have probably ended up with Hashimoto's. And there's the deal. And everybody that I talk to that has Hashimoto's, do you take iodine? Pretty well. Nope. I used to. Sometimes I do. And then when I talk to them long enough, I realize that they don't understand that they are running an anxiety program, waiting for the shoe to drop because they were traumatized, or they're still being traumatized by their relationships with themselves or everybody else. And understand something. Infinite Iodine will neutralize every virus from COVID, from COVID to HIV in 15 seconds. Now that's real science. So the reality is it's all time that we woke up and understand something. Iodine's not just for the thyroid. I'm going to be bringing Warren on. And Warren, he produces our Infinite Iodine. And Warren is an expert on iodine. And Warren just told me that he asked AI what would happen if people took the dosage of iodine that they needed every day. Warren, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Darrell. My name's Phil, by the way.
Oh, God.
It's so funny. You know, I will definitely answer to Warren, no problem. That's actually a very cool name, but my name is Philip. So.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you something. I did that to you before, remember? Months ago.
You were talking, you were talking to Warren right before you were talking to me. It's okay.
Yeah, and
it's
I don't
okay.
know
You're
why,
a busy guy, I know.
It's not my fault, but you actually look like him,
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, I was looking for a study that was 2 doctors up in Canada in the 80s did with women with fibroids and fibroid cysts. It was a blind placebo study of over 4,000 participants, 4,000 women with fibroids and fibroid cysts, and the half that was drinking 6 milligrams of pure molecular iodine, infinite iodine, they were, after 5 months, 98% of them had a great improvement in the reduction of their fibroids and fibroid cysts. 73% were completely free of fibroids and fibroid cysts after 5 months.
And where were these fibroid cysts?
In the breast.
Okay, so everybody, I want you to understand something. A fibroid is mainly made out of scar tissue. And remember something, you get infection that creates inflammation, and the body sends fibrin there to try to wall off because the tissue's becoming weak, to try to create a wall so the parasites can't move in, and to stop the inflammation from spreading. And a cyst is pus and bacteria, bad bacteria and pus, and it makes a saccade, to store that until you wake up. And there's many reasons why. It's the domino effect of the large intestine backing up the liver and backing up the lymph system. And then when you get this infection, but understand something. If you have to understand that if you were taking the iodine, and with this study, it was one of the main studies that showed that iodine was one of the main things that helped women to keep their breast health, and all the way up to the big C actually help to deal with it. And we're dealing up to with, when we're talking about real inflammatory chronic conditions, an ounce and a half a day.
Yeah, when you're trying to treat a fibroid cyst or a fibroid. And how this shows up for people is its hardness in the breasts. Women, when they feel a lump in their breast, they panic because they always think that it could be cancer. And that in itself is going to create a problem in your body. What you believe is very important. So you always have to remember that, the body is processing things, but the breasts fight for iodine. So women especially need to get their RDA. And there's so many doctors I've been talking to in the last 5 years, and over and over again, they always say, this is low. The RDA for iodine is low. The Japanese eat 12 milligrams per day of iodide in their diet. And in that consumption of iodide, they turn a certain amount of that into molecular iodine. But with infinite iodine, what we can encourage people to do when they're drinking an ounce and a half or 6 milligrams each day is that they mix it with some distilled water or demineralized water, maybe 4 or 5 ounces, to use the water as a carrier to get it past the mouth and the throat as iodine into the belly. Do it on an empty stomach, preferably, so that the iodine goes right into the bloodstream, because that's what we need. We need the molecular iodine to go through the bloodstream to the area where it's most needed. Getting back to this study, so I had a link to the study. It was on my website. I'd sent it to countless people, and I started to get calls about a year ago saying, this study's gone. And the study had disappeared from the internet. When you clicked on the link, it was disappeared. And I couldn't find it anywhere. I asked so many people to help me. And it wasn't until I did this AI search that I found the study. And what I also found, just to cut to the chase, is that these two doctors up in Canada, they actually patented the protocol of this work with 6 milligrams of iodine, because it works so well with these fibroids and fibroid cysts that could lead to breast cancer. The suppleness, the softness of the breast is what you want. When it's getting hard and lumpy, obviously there's pain there. It's not nice to the touch. That's when you know that your fibroids are forming, like Daryl said, because you're not getting enough iodine. What was really cool was I went further with the AI search, and I asked artificial intelligence this question. If we had a safe, widely distributed oral spray delivering 150 parts per million of pure molecular iodine, how would that impact human health? And the answer came back, here's the sweeping impact it could have on humanity. And the first one is massive reduction in thyroid disorders. So, that to me was an obvious one. It was really number two that was really enlivening to me. I just thought, wow, what a beautiful thing to hear. It said global rise in cognitive ability. So we were going to improve our IQ. And this is what it says verbatim in the search. It says, over time, we'd see smarter, more capable generations, more innovation, and possibly a new wave of intellectual flourishing. And then in brackets, it says, think, semicolon, a hidden human upgrade happening at the biological level. So when I started working with the scientists that developed this technology that is making infinite iodine for you, the first thing, as I was doing my research after a year, I turned to Terry and I said, this is going to make us all smarter. And to see it in an AI search, this is really regurgitation of information that's already out there. And, over the years, I've been telling people how incredible iodine is and why it's so important for pregnant women to take double what an adult needs while they're pregnant and while they're giving birth. Because as that fetus is grown inside of the woman from 1 cell to 20 trillion cells, it's iodine that is crucial for the IQ of that child, the central nervous system, and the skeletal structure. It's crucial. The word is crucial. And it's so funny because I would say important, and Terry would stop me and he'd say, no, it's crucial. And I realized, that he's right. His words just ring through in my mind now. And
yeah, because there's certain things you can do without, and there's certain things you can't. And when the body makes no iodine at all, and we already know that as soon as people start taking iodine, they go, wow, I'm more here now. I'm more in the moment. I can actually think. So yeah. It's not just the thyroid. It's also iodine, everyone. It actually works like a calcium ion, an infinite iodine ion, because that's what it is. And a calcium ion, they do most of the communication in the body. Calcium ions and infinite iodine. And guess what? Ions. And iodine ions also, they help to create the flip switch when cells go rogue, so that they will just get rid of themselves, so that they don't cause trouble and create other cells like themselves and other damage in the body.
So number 3 on my AI search, and this is what it says on number 3, cancer prevention boost. And then it says, since molecular iodine specifically targets breast, prostate, and gastric tissues. So think about it. Crohn's, diverticulitis, and colitis are a combination of infection. It's bacterial, but it's also fungal.
Yeah, also if I can say polyps, okay, diverticulitis, okay, fissures, fistulas, okay, celiac disease, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently had a client who had a fistula, and he sprayed up his bum, and he said he had instant relief from it. Oh, I just had another person locally. My grandkids love this store, and I walked into the store, this toy store, and the poor woman has her arms and legs covered in eczema, she said. And she said that it developed in her body after her second mRNA vaccine. This was her words, not mine. And I said to her, wow, okay, I've got this infinite iodine, and I'd like you to try it, and you can spray it on your body. But I also want you to use it inside, because why you're having this eczema is from an internal, it's a microbiome issue. And so 4 weeks later, I came in with my grandkids, and she looked at me and she said, oh my God, I can't thank you enough. And she showed me her arms. Half of her arm is completely normal. Like there's no more eczema. The other part of her arm is all white and chalky looking. And she said, and I said, oh, it's drying out the skin. And she said, oh, I'm so thrilled. That's what happened before it cleared off on the other part of my arm. And it's not itchy anymore. So I don't need to scratch it. And she said, and that's a huge relief, because I couldn't resist scratching it. So she was making it even worse. So let me continue with this number 3. Breast cancer rates could fall, especially estrogen sensitive types. So one of the things that I'm realizing in my learning in the last 5 years is, for sure, molecular iodine, infinite iodine, will have a huge impact on hormone-driven cancer. And I hate to say the word cancer, because it's not even, it's almost like this scary thing. I think we're calling it inflammation. Sorry, but the
a few minutes.
This is. Pardon?
Go ahead.
Prostate cancer might decrease or progress more slowly. Stomach health would improve, possibly lowering gastric cancers in high-risk countries like Japan and Chile. So when you're consuming a lot of iodide in the plant form, there does seem to be some problems in the body from that, because there's unfortunately, a lot of pollution and poisons that are in the ocean. So when you're eating kelp or when you're eating seaweed, these are the filters in the sea, like the plants are the filters above the ocean, below the same. So with these plant products, we don't know what we're getting with them. We'd like to know that the source is good, but we know that infinite iodine is pure U.S. pharmaceutical grade iodine and water only, and being a pure element, not mixing any potassium iodide into it. You like Daryl said, I've drank 18.5 milligrams of iodine in a 24-hour period at least a dozen times.
And how much is 18? Can you tell them how much is 18.5 milligrams?
That's a 4-ounce bottle.
Okay.
So 1 ounce bottle has about 4.25 milligrams of iodine in it.
If I can say this, everyone, you can't do that with another iodine. You'll blow your thyroid, okay? You'll lose weight so fast it'll make your head spin.
Well, and not only that, but you see Lugol's in one drop, typically Lugol's has 18.75 milligrams of combined potassium iodide, which is 2/3, and 1/3 molecular iodine.
Right.
The molecular iodine in Lugol's is good, but the potassium iodide was the solvent that Lugol's used to dissolve iodine in water. So recently we went into America to start making infinite iodine. We want to make it in each country that we're in. We're making iodine. So we're in Canada. We're now in the United States. We're going to be starting to go into different countries the same way as our plan. And when we were 4th day, and this is a very important GMP facility, it took us a long time to find the right facility to make it with, because a lot of people are afraid to work with iodine. We had people say, oh, yes, we can do this. And then 2 months later, we're saying we can't do this, because they were realizing that they weren't at the level that they would have to be allowed by the FDA to even make our product. So we're in with this great group. We're making iodine. We set up our iodine generator. On the 4th day, the chemist came to us and he said, what else is in your iodine besides water and iodine? And we said, nothing. It's 150 parts iodine to 1 million parts water. And he looked at us very knowingly and said, that's impossible. And both Sean and I were there laughing, saying, yeah, we know. We know it's impossible. And we know that there's no scientific journals that say that we can do what we're doing. In fact, he was adamant about the fact that we couldn't make a stronger than a 2 to a 3 ppm molecular iodine. But in fact, we're making up to a 400 ppm iodine, which is very, very powerful. The one that you're getting with infinite iodine is incredibly powerful. There's work that Sean's father, Terry, did with polio 1. He killed polio 1 with a 10 ppm molecular iodine at a very low temperature, which makes it even more difficult to kill that type of virus. I mean, it's the most aggressive, wicked virus known to man. And you're actually spraying 150 ppm in the mouth and the back of the throat. So, things like COVID, influenza, we've had traditional medicine doctors using infinite iodine to kill COVID, kill strep throat, which is a bacterial infection that's not viral. There's so many things that iodine is amazing for. And, it's so funny how people, when Donald Trump said maybe we could inject a disinfectant into our body to clear this virus, every person I've ever told that story says he said bleach. So this is the power of misinformation delivered to you by the media. Because after Donald Trump said disinfectant, the media said he said bleach. And then they went on to say Lysol, Clorox, all of the words that would suggest a chlorine product. He didn't say bleach. He said disinfectant. And there's no better disinfectant on the planet than iodine. Look it up. Look up anything in iodine. Look up brain cancer in iodine. I just Googled it the other day because somebody was asking me about brain cancer and molecular iodine. Will it cross the blood-brain barrier? I said, absolutely it will. And then I Googled it. And what they're doing in traditional medicine right now is they're injecting radioactive iodine into a brain tumor. And as soon as I say that, I think, oh my God, people are so stupid. That these doctors, these medical people, why does it have to be radioactive?
Because yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be radioactive at all. And if I don't want to take you off course, so if you can hold it, but let's come back to the breast, because everyone, when they find a lump or a bump in their breast, okay, all right, if you find a lump and a bump in your breast, we're going to get you on the infinite iodine, and we can do higher dosages, everyone. And understand this, we can get you to nebulize the infinite iodine. You need to get that, everybody. And it's non-toxic. And if you nebulize the infinite iodine, it'll go in your sinuses, it'll go into your brain, it'll go into your blood, it'll go into your lymph, it'll go throughout your whole body. I've got people that are nebulizing infinite iodine with a portable or a house nebulizer, okay, like their life depended on it. I can tell you stories, so many stories that what this does. And we're not talking about curing anything. We're talking about bringing back order, bringing back balance right to the mitochondria level. And also, whether you're talking about a lump or a bump in your breast, or whether you're talking about a lump and a bump in your pelvis or in your lymph nodes or anywhere, iodine affects it. And understand this, everyone, before you lose your sugar and freak out and allow them to do a biopsy that will actually take that lump bump from a stage 1 or 2 up to a 3 or 4, because come on, you can't take a little piece and cut something and not create more inflammation, because cancer is stage 4 inflammation. You're on fire, and every fire is eating up oxygen. The only person who received the Nobel Prize on this planet was Dr. Otto Warburg, discovered that 35% lack of oxygen in a cell can cause the cell to not mutate, but it's suffocating. And it says, oh my God, the oxygen's gone, but look at all the lactic acid. The tissues are so full of acid, I can live off of lactic acid. And then the cell lives off the lactic acid and creates more acid. So everybody, you need to understand, it's so fraudulent out there. And then guess what? I'm going to tell you that if you ever can come near a Wolfe Non-Surgical therapist that has what's called cell sonic regeneration and does Wolfe Non-Surgical, if you go to my DOD Power Pack, I have a video on there. It wasn't shot that good because it was done by phone. And this is a lady, okay, Philip, that actually her tumor was 5 inches by 3 inches, okay? And it was 1 inch deep. And I showed the whole thing. It's only a 24-minute video by phone. It wasn't shot good. The girl didn't know how to hold it, but you can tell. And understand something. Before she came, we had her drinking 1.5 ounces of the infinite iodine for about 20 days before she came to see us. And then I did the non-surgical with my elbow and actually pulling the fibroid apart. But before I did that, I used what's called cell sonic regeneration, okay, which is a 25,000 volt device. Can you do a wide screen, please, guys? Please? Hello? Okay, so that's it there. And it puts out 25,000 volts, but it puts it into what we would call a love harmonic. You know how Rife has many different frequencies? Well, this in a pulse head has them all. Wow. I got it down by 1 inch by 1 inch. And this is after getting her of doing the 1.5 ounces of infinite iodine 20 days prior to coming. And then doing the work I just said. We got it down by 1 inch by 1 inch in 27 minutes. So I need you to understand, everyone, that if you're not in a life-threatening situation, because I'm not telling you what to do, but if you're not in a life-threatening situation, then give your body a chance. Give your body a chance to heal naturally. Remember, there are no diseases. There's certain parts of your body that are out of alignment, okay? And we need to bring that part of your body back into alignment. And understand it's always based on inflammation. And infinite iodine will bring down inflammation like I've never seen anything else do it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Philip?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. We could. I mean, we really need 2 hours to talk about everything. I'm not even done with my AI search. Number 4, better immune resilience. So remember, Daryl said that your iodine, that the infinite iodine is a broad spectrum oral vaccine. When we take a traditional vaccine, I'm not talking about the COVID shot, I'm talking about a traditional vaccine. What they do is they give you a dead pathogen with an adjuvant to create an immune response. And a lot of time that's aluminum. And they're actually saying that they can't replace it. So the aluminum creates the immune response, and somehow the pathogen, this deactivated pathogen or live pathogen, gives you the capability to make antibodies. But when you spray infinite iodine in the mouth and the back of the throat, we can't claim this on the bottle. We're selling the product as thyroid support and immune support, which we can definitely do as a supplement. But I was recently in America just about to make the product, and I had to get approval from the FDA in order for to get the supplement facts correct on the label for the product, as we're making it there now instead of in Canada. And I was wanting to put the RDA for each age group. And the fascinating thing is that an adult's 150 micrograms. This is the FDA. Adult is 150 micrograms. Pregnant breastfeeding woman, 290. A newborn to 1 year old is 130 micrograms. And then according to the FDA, after the child turns 1 until I think they're 14 years old, 90 micrograms. So it's incredibly important for this infant in its first year to get a lot of iodine for its IQ, central nervous system, skeletal structure.
Yeah.
But also the immune system is so, listen, this is just straight. I'm going to read exactly what it says on the AI search. Number 4, better immune resilience. Then it says iodine isn't just a thyroid mineral. It's a direct immune modulator and a potent natural antimicrobial. Regular exposure to molecular iodine would likely decrease chronic infections, especially in the mouth, throat, and respiratory tract. Lower inflammatory diseases by balancing immune overreactions. So this is the thing. We want our body to work perfectly. We don't want it to work too much, because when your thyroid is hyperthyroid, then you run into problems like Graves' disease. That's a hyperthyroid. That's too many T3, T4 hormones. You want a balance. And then just the last one on this one is possibly reduce autoimmune conditions, especially thyroid-related ones. Well, they're all thyroid-related. This gland here, if you don't have one, if you have no thyroid or you have a completely dead thyroid, then you do require a synthetic hormone replacement drug to survive. If you don't get it, you could die in 6 months to 2 years, is about the lifespan of somebody that doesn't have a thyroid, that cannot access these. So, when I talk about the world of pharmaceuticals, I want people to understand there are pharmaceuticals that can help you in an emergency, in a situation that's rare. But the thing that all the studies are saying is that 90% of the people that are taking Synthroid only need more iodine. And the purest form of iodine is infinite iodine. We started to work with Daryl 4 or 5 years ago, and Daryl had done his homework. there's a product on the market called nascent iodine. And everybody that makes that product says it's the most bioavailable iodine on the market. And the truth is that it is a single positively charged iodine. Molecular iodine is I2, the two positively charged iodine molecules. And when it breaks apart naturally in your throat and in the mouth and the back of the throat, when it kills bacteria, deactivates viruses, it breaks apart into two I-. And then your body can use that to process, because the thyroid only uses I-, only uses iodide to convert into atomic iodine, also known as nascent iodine. So a single positively charged iodine molecule is what your thyroid makes from I-, iodide, into atomic iodine I+. If you're introducing a product like nascent iodine to your body, first thing is, scientifically, it can only bypass the thyroid. There's no other explanation that you can give us. And by the way, there's no scientific work to back up the claims. They also claim that it will kill bad things in the body, nascent iodine. But it can't, because it's not this complex molecule of I2 breaking apart as it kills. It's I+. The only place that I+ shows up in our body is the iodine molecules that are attached to the T3, T4 hormones. The 3 and the 4 are single positively charged iodine molecules. Your body makes them. And by the way, the only place molecular iodine ever shows up naturally in your body is that your body will turn iodide in foods, iodine-rich foods that you're eating in your belly. A certain amount of that will get made into molecular iodine in your belly. And as that happens, iodide and molecular iodine go past your thyroid in your bloodstream every 16 to 18 minutes. And the only molecule that your thyroid will pull out, the only form of iodine that it'll pull out, is iodide, I-, and it converts it into I+. So, there's other products on the market like Lugol's, very, very high dosing, 120 times the RDA, and I don't even have a problem with the dosage of 1 drop of Lugol's. What I question is what is a solvent that they use to dissolve it? So remember, the chemist in our plant that we're making it in North Carolina came to us and said that what we're doing is impossible. He was expecting us to say that there was some other form of acid, he said, or something like a potassium iodide. So when you put Lugol's on a sensitive part of your body outside, it'll burn. It'll burn like hell. And about 3 or 4 days later, the skin will peel off of that area. So it's dead. And I've just talked to somebody recently who did a bladder cleanse with potassium iodide product. And they said that they got instant relief from it. And I said, okay, that's good. And they said, but it created other problems in my body. And now I've been talking to people, and it's starting to make sense. There's doctors in the United States, I think Brownstein, I think he treats people with up to 200 milligrams of potassium iodide each day, and other things. And I've talked to people that survived their cancer, they say, with Dr. Brownstein. But in their words, they said, but I went through hell. And what I think is going on is that the potassium iodide that comes along with Lugol's in order to make their product is burning them. And one of the things that's great in this study that we found with these doctors up in Canada with the blind placebo study they did with over 4,000 women with fibroids and fibroid cysts in their breasts, is that what they said in the study was that they were very interested in the fact that what made up a fibroid cyst, 55% of what was in that cyst was potassium. Now, I don't know what that means. I know that calcium and calcium, are two different things. If you Google calcium supplement, the first things you're going to see is ground up oyster shells. And it's crazy, still today, there are supplement companies out there, some of the big ones that grind up oyster shells and put them in a capsule. And that's what people are taking for calcium. And your body can't use that. Your body isn't built to break down ground up oyster shells. Otherwise, humans, there would be history of that, and I guess there might be a certain amount of it that you can use, but what comes along with it? It's crazy, really, that we haven't evolved from understanding that what we get from a vegetable or a fruit or a meat is something soluble that we can use, whereas to allow supplement companies to grind up oyster shells and put them in a capsule and give them to humans, we're out of our minds.
Well, Philip, if I can say this, there isn't a calcium supplement out there that works. They all cement the body, except for calcium ion therapy is the only company in the world that is patented that actually has calcium ions, okay? Mm-hmm. That's just the same with infinite iodine, okay? That's why I was saying at the beginning of the show, it's calcium ions and iodine ions that actually do all the communication that you need in your body. If you don't take infinite iodine, you're not going to get the communication you need, and also calcium ion therapy. I'm telling you, those are the two major products that every human being, I believe, needs. And, we have a product called Megagen. And when people take Megagen regularly and they do infinite iodine, their life changes. Your life will change. It's amazing. All about the ions. And there's not another calcium product out there. There are people that are selling calcium, not ions, but ionized calcium. And it's a liquid. It'll go past the stomach, but it never gets into the cell. It doesn't get to the cells. And if it doesn't get into the cells, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything.
Yeah, so let me just say this. And this is the other thing that I always want to say to people is that iodine isn't everything in your body. It's a part of what's going to make us healthy.
Right.
But the part that it is at the foundation of your cellular health. So there's 3 forms of iodine you need in every healthy cell. You need iodide to convert into atomic iodine, and then those positively charged molecules attach to the T3, T4 hormones. A T4 hormone, if a woman isn't pregnant, or obviously a man's never pregnant, sorry if that offends anybody, but a T4 hormone interacts with the metabolism. And I don't want to get into a huge explanation, but just to go very quickly. So when that happens, the T4 hormone drops a molecule, becoming a T3, and that T3 hormone is required at the nucleus of every cell in your body. And if that doesn't happen, that cell is a car, excuse me, is like a car without a driver. So that T3 hormone is required at the nucleus of the cell. Within the cell, iodide moves around freely, and so does molecular iodine. And molecular iodine is inside the cell as an immune system warrior. We all know about macrophages. They envelop a cell and kill a bad cell. We all know that natural killer cells take out bad cells if they are informed enough. Is part of the interesting thing about natural killer cells, that sometimes can be thwarted. Cancer cells can hide inside of the body. And one of the guys that I've been following, he's talking about this natural killer cell booster that he's got. And I find it very interesting, but he's also talking about using a light treatment of chemotherapy first to root out the cancer and kind of take it out of hiding. And I'm wondering if molecular iodine could be possibly a replacement for the chemo in his process. But getting back to this, so the molecular iodine is an immune system warrior that nobody talks about, but it works within the cell. And when molecular iodine is moving around freely inside of the cell, it will kill invaders. And when it does that, it breaks apart into iodide. And iodide inside the cell provides for the reproduction of the cell as well as the general health of the cell. The other crucial function of molecular iodine in the cell is apoptosis. And if you don't know what that is, look it up because it's incredible. We've got 200 different types of cells in our body. So we have 35 plus trillion cells make up our body. And within that 35 trillion cells, there's 200 different types of cells. And they all have different lifespans. Brain cells are 200 years, and I find that fascinating. I don't know how science knows this. Obviously, we don't know very many people or any people that live till they're 200. But brain cells, 200 years. Heart cells, 15 years. Liver cells are 16 to 18 months. And by the way, we've had people take infinite iodine for 16 to 18 months, and all of a sudden they're eating food that they know they're going to pay the price for. They know that they're going to be sick, but they want to eat it. They crave it. They want to eat it, and then they don't get sick. And their doctors are telling them, "Hey, your liver's working. This fatty liver that wouldn't process fats is now working." And when we're hearing this, we're thinking, "Yeah, that could make sense." They're taking proper amount of iodine every day, and after 16, 18 months, their liver cells are regenerating, and they're rebuilding their organ with iodine. See, iodine, when I talk to all of these doctors about it, they say to me, "Yeah, iodine is regenerative." When I first spoke to Daryl knew more about iodine than I did. I was thinking that we were going to be looking after footnail fungus, to be honest, mostly, because I knew what a great fungicide iodine was. And Daryl laughed at me and he said, "Well, yeah, we could use it for that, but it's for so much more." And I said, "Like what?" And he said, "Everything. I'm going to use it for everything. I'm going to use it for inflammation. I'm going to use it for infection in the body." And when I heard that, I just realized that the possibilities were endless. So I didn't get through the better immune resilience number 4 on my AI search. The last one here is a beautiful one. Possibly reduce autoimmune conditions, especially thyroid-related ones. Number 5, oral health revolution. This is exactly what it says. I love it. Spraying molecular iodine in the mouth would kill harmful bacteria that cause gum disease and cavities. So cavities happen because of infection in the mouth. Reduce oral biofilms, bacterial slime layers, improve breath, mouth health, and even heart health indirectly, since gum disease is linked to heart attacks. I didn't even really know that gum disease and heart attacks were linked together. I mean, I'm sure you did, Daryl.
Philip, can we go back through that and just take one at a time? I just want to say a little blurb with each thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, well, before I go, I don't know when we're going to run out of time, but I want to read this one again. Number 2, global rise in cognitive ability. Over time, we'd see smarter, more capable generations. Think your kids and your grandkids are going to be smarter than you. What could be better? More innovation and possibly a new wave of intellectual flourishing.
You know why? Because we saw a generation without it, and how their actual mental capability dropped as much as 30% without iodine. We just saw it. This last generation wasn't doing it.
Yeah, you can see it in real time. And I guess I think of it on such a global scale because, all of us people, the people that are just living our lives, having families, trying to do well for our families, feed our families and raise them, we're the largest part of it. We're the 99%. I consider myself definitely a part of the 99%. the 1% that are supposedly the people that, I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying, I don't know all of this for sure, but the people that are running the world that are, having us be in these wars and having these agendas where we're going to have a one world currency and digital currency and all those things. That's a very small percentage of the people that are thinking that we should do this, and convincing the 99% that this is a good thing is what they're in the process of doing. And there's a lot of people that I speak to that think, yeah, this is a good idea. But of course, to be a one world under one government never made any sense. And when I watched the euro come into Europe, I started to watch the decline of Europe. I had been to France 2 years before the euro came in. I was there with my wife and my son, and we traveled through France for 4 weeks, going to village to village to village. And it was an expensive trip. It cost me about $7,000. Today, that trip would cost $60,000 in the equivalent amount of money under the euro. And, places like Spain have the highest production entirely in Europe, but they're not considered to be the center of Europe. They're just they're just the workers, but they're producing more than any of the other countries. And we're losing knowledge. We need to get smarter. We need to understand what's going on. It's like when they were saying, and I hate to get into all of this. This is past history, but when they were saying that people who were not going to take the mRNA were going to be a threat to those that took the mRNA, I would laugh at people, even doctors, that would say this to me and say, do you really believe that the vaccinated people are now going to be unsafe from the ones that aren't protecting themselves, quote unquote, from this thing? Come on, guys. Anyway, sorry, you wanted to go over something else.
No, I get it. No, if you could just go over, I think it was number 4. There was little things. I just want you to re-say it. Little each piece, I want to explain something. Okay?
Okay, number 4, better immune resilience.
Well, better immune resilience, remember something. If you reduce inflammation and infection, you got your immune system back. End of story. That's it. You know what?
That's it.
You lost your immune system because you were infected first, and then you're inflamed. And understand, everybody, this is an inflammation nation. Everybody's inflamed. And understand something, guess what? For every extra pound you have, that is the inflammation that would have killed you if you didn't create the fat cells. Okay, what's the next one?
Yeah, and this is something I want to also talk about very quickly. And you were talking about this before, and it made me think of it. Is that?
Oh, can I say one thing, Philip? Everybody, if you've got questions, just bring them in. We'll answer them at the end here. And we're not in a hurry, okay? We're not in a hurry.
Oh yeah, no problem. With a vaccine, the hypothesis is that you're going to introduce a pathogen or a dead pathogen to your body so that you can make antibodies for it. So that if that pathogen comes your way, you're going to be ready to fight it. And what's unfortunate about the flu vaccines is that they go into the wastewater. This is how they make them. They go into the wastewater to see which pathogens are most prevalent. They're checking out our poo and our pee to see what we've got going on. And then they introduce that in the flu shot, which if you are going to encounter those things, you're ready for them. You're armed and ready at the front door to fight them. But unfortunately, what happens is that you get a different one, a different pathogen that's introduced that you're not ready for. And because you've spent all of your energy getting your weaponry ready for these two, the one that comes in from the back door is easy to clobber you. And that's why people that get the flu shot always get the flu. And not only that, but they're down for 2 or 3 weeks because it's their immune system that fights off viruses. The thing about vaccines is they don't kill anything, but iodine does. And so one of the things I wanted to, I was talking about going to the FDA to do the supplement facts. So I had 2 different consultants that I used to make sure that I got it right, that I wasn't going to have any problems with the FDA, that I was going to do it properly. And with those two consultants, I had two different pieces of information that weren't jiving. And I thought, uh-oh, which one? So I went direct to the FDA. And they came back and they told me what I need to know. So what I need to know is that we're going to say what the percentage of the daily value you're getting from one spray for each age group. So that will be on our supplement packs going forward, which is great. But the thing that the FDA also said to me, and this was a person saying something to me from the FDA, they said, if the action of your product is in the mouth or the back of the throat, then you're not a dietary supplement.
What?
And my answer to that is correct. The action of our product is thyroid and immune system. That's it. That's all we have on our bottle, on our boxes, on our product, infinite iodine. And the FDA even knows, and like most people know, that iodine will do that. It's going to kill bacteria and deactivate viruses like nothing else. In fact, there's products in the United States that I'm now educating the medical world, pharmacies especially, about. And those products are betadine. They have a throat spray for killing strep throat. There's Cofix RX, and there's Immune Mist. Those are all povidone iodine products. And what povidone iodine is it's plastic particles that are impregnated with iodine. So you got a nasal mist that you're spraying up in your nose and sniffing back into your sinuses and into your lungs that's full of plastic.
And your brain.
And your brain. I mean, you got to be kidding me, people. And it astounds me that the FDA allows this. I mean, the povidone iodine was designed for floors and surfaces, period. And how they came up with povidone iodine was when plastic was introduced, I think in the 50s or the 60s. I never get that right. But anyways, when plastic was introduced, they realized that iodine impregnated into the plastic. And it took them 2 years to get the iodine out of the plastic. So they figured out a way to have it removed. So when you actually put povidone iodine on a person's body, the iodine is released when it touches your skin, or if you spray it inside your body. God forbid that people are still doing this. And whenever I tell pharmacists that Cofix RX and Immune Mist is povidone iodine, they say to me, oh, I got to get that off the shelf. And they know full well, even though it's approved by the FDA, that whoever uses this product is going to be harmful to. And by the way, both of those products say that you can't use them for any length of time, and that's why. But you also you can't give them to a child until they're 3 years old. So apparently, after we're 3 years old, we can start ingesting plastic, according to the FDA. And I'm thinking to myself, we've lost our minds. Like we know what this is. They know full well what this is. This can't be allowed. And yet it's been allowed. So back to better immune resilience. Iodine isn't just a thyroid mineral. It's a direct immune modulator and a potent natural antimicrobial. I was on a show with a professor, and he was a hormone specialist. And I said the words, every hormone in your body needs iodine. And he very smugly said, well, I don't remember teaching that in my class. The only hormones that need iodine is the T3, T4 hormones. And I very quickly, I pulled up a study that I have, and I sent it to him. I said, have a look at this study, because indirectly is what the words are on the National Library of Medicine. And what I notice about the studies on the National Library of Medicine is there's information missing from those studies. And like the study that I talked about, the Ghent-Eskin study, that was the Canadian doctors that were treating patients with 6 milligrams of molecular iodine every day to remove fibroids and fibroid cysts from the breast. There's a lot of great information in that study. One of the pieces of information for me that's hugely valuable in what I'm talking about and what I'm talking to people about is it said potassium iodide didn't work. So they tried potassium iodide in the study to remove fibroids and fibroid cysts, and that didn't work. And it's all it says, but I know that if we're finding 55% of potassium, 55% of what is in a fibroid cyst is potassium, that could be a problem. Therein could be the problem. But the modulator, the immune modulator, and the natural antimicrobial is something that we don't claim. It's a side effect of using infinite iodine. You know, everybody knows it, everybody sees it. And if we did say that on our bottle, we would have to be approved as an over-the-counter drug, not one that you have to get a prescription for.
And if I can say this, Philip, what it's doing, everyone, is the iodine actually gives off a frequency that negative microbes or otherwise anaerobic microbes, they don't live on oxygen, cannot live in the environment and share the same environment with infinite iodine. End of story. It can't share it. It won't share it. So they can't come, they can't invade. And that frequency that the infinite iodine creates doesn't allow those negative microbes to be able to morph and become that. So understand, frequency, vibration is everything. It's what's left behind. And understand something, everyone, and you got to get this in your head, okay? That this product is aerobic. It feeds, it doesn't just neutralize, it doesn't just neutralize the anaerobic, it actually helps to increase the vitality of the aerobic bacteria and other microbes that are working for you. Philip?
It's energy. It's energy. Metabolic energy.
It's all energy.
Yeah. It's about turning your food into energy. And if your body can do that more effectively, it's not going to store it as fat. It's going to use it.
Yeah. And there's only one food group, not four. Yeah. And it's called energy. That's it. It's called frequency. You got to look for high energy frequency foods, or we don't deal in supplements. This is a nutraceutical. A nutraceutical, by definition, is a high frequency vibrational, system that comes into the body that creates an environment that doesn't allow negative microbes, or, are you ready for this? Every disease is where that part of the body, the tissue, is decomposing. Did you hear me? Decomposing. Okay, so in an environment with infinite iodine, it stops the decomposition. Otherwise, tissue rotting, put down into layman's terms. Okay?
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking about this before I go to the gym and work out, because I like the gym. I like the symmetry of it, and I like watching other people work out around me. For some reason, that gives me more inspiration to work harder, I guess is the truth of it. And I'm 60. And when I turned 53, I noticed my testosterone really falling away. And I noticed that I didn't quite have enough energy. And when I found iodine, after about a year of taking iodine regularly, I was amazed at what I could do again. And now I just turned 60. And I take about 10 sprays, I would say, of iodine before the gym, and I'm sure that it gives me a bit of a boost, because I like going to the gym, because at the end of it, I feel, my muscles are pumped up. I feel like I'm standing up straighter. It's I don't really think of any issues that I can say. Like sometimes I feel a little bit sore after sitting for a couple of hours. The lactic acid in my body builds up a little bit, and I just drink a whole bunch of water, and then everything relaxes. Magnesium, of course, is a must after you work out. And I'm terrible when it comes to taking supplements. I really am. I mean, but I don't really take a lot of supplements. I eat eggs because I want the K2. And that's another thing. That you probably have a product that will help to take the calcium out of the arteries and get it into the bones where we need it.
Well,
That's a big important
that's calcium ion therapy. Can you grab me the Megagen, please?
Yeah, this is huge for people. When your bone density is having a problem, I know guys that are having problems with their bone density, and they're on actually pharmaceuticals that they're injecting into their stomach. I know they cost thousands of dollars, and I think, wow, you've got a bone density problem. I never think about that, but here you go.
So this one here is called Megagen. And everyone, I'm going to tell you something. I challenge every calcium maker out there on the market to tell you that every calcium maker except for this one is fraudulent. Every one, every absolute one. The science is behind this. Megagen, if you're healthy, you just take Megagen twice a day. You'll never have all the bone problems and all the teeth problems, because understand, your teeth are bones, everyone. And you're only getting cavities because you have so much infection and inflammation in your mouth or in the surrounding area of your teeth because they're bones. Let's make that really clear, okay? This one's called Merigen, and Merigen is about 6 times stronger than this one. This one here is for big bad problems, all the way from A to Z. And I'll tell you, just so you know, Philip, we've had people that are in their 80s where their bones are crumbling and go on this, and after 9 months to a year, they'll have the bone structure of a 40-year-old. I can say that. We've got thousands of testimonials, but this one, I do this one every day, twice a day, and guess what? I have the bone structure of a 40-year-old, and I will be 68 in 4 weeks.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen you go through your day, and if you're 68, man, you're doing awesome, because I've never seen anybody work harder than you, Daryl.
Well, it's not hard, because I'm going to tell you something right now. All we got to do is think about everybody as our family. Everybody's our family. Everybody out there suffering is our family.
100%.
That's it. I mean, if that's not enough to get you up in the morning, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
What's the next one on your list?
Let's just see. Regular exposure to molecular iodine would likely decrease chronic infections, especially in the mouth, throat, and respiratory tract. So nebulizing iodine. We can all nebulize iodine.
Listen, nebulize the iodine, and if you are coughing all the time, if you've got a chronic lung problem, you might have to do like distilled water, 3 parts to 1 part iodine at the very weakest. But almost everybody can take the iodine straight in here, and that's what's in here. I'll show you this. Okay, all right. So you'll see it in a second. You see it? There's the iodine coming out. So understand something. It's inexpensive. Does everybody understand that this is a gas? That this goes into the ear canal, goes behind the eyeballs, goes into the sinuses, goes into the lungs, goes into the bloodstream, goes into the brain. You guys have no idea what this does, okay? I'm telling you right now, all the way up to stage 4 inflammation, they call it the big C. I've had, and this is the truth, Philip, we have had probably a half a dozen people that call us, and what are the elderly passing from more than anything, Philip? Lung problems. And understand, a lot of them don't have any money. And understand, I said, you nebulize infinite iodine like your life depends on it, because it does. Yeah. And they'll nebulize it throughout the day, all day long. I say, keep the portable in the car, and then get yourself a home unit. And when you go to have your nap, after a while, you can just put that on and just keep on breathing it, let it just go. Because when you're nebulizing it, you're not spending a lot of money. And understand something, this is more powerful than getting it injected. Remember, it's a gas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So lower inflammatory diseases by balancing immune overreactions. Lower inflammatory disease. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so just know this, everybody, okay? Every disease is an inflammatory disease. There are no diseases that aren't inflammatory diseases. And are you ready? There are no diseases. There's just inflammation. So, but understand, I have COPD. Well, at least I know they're talking about their lungs. But they don't have COPD. They've got infection that went to inflammation, and inflammation that went to scar tissue formation and calcification, because they had to bring in the scar tissue to keep the parasites from living off the weakened tissue and to live there, because it's low vibrational, and a parasite lives off victims. You understand? There's two-legged parasites that live off victims because they don't do their research. And then there's many-legged parasites inside of you that live off of your corrupted tissue that's low vibrating. And then, so understand, so what we get is we get fibrin coming in to create a wall to keep the parasites from coming in. And we also get a fibrin calcium wall to keep them from coming in, but to stop the inflammation from spreading, which is the only dis-ease. All right? And there is no autoimmune disease, everyone. You can't even prove that there's an autoimmune disease because there isn't. There's only infection in the tissue, and you don't know how to get it out or dismantle it, so it just keeps going. The body has never attacked itself in the history of this planet. So don't even give me that. And I don't care. And you know what? Everybody's going to talk about it. Philip will talk about it. Everybody's going to talk about it, because you give all these names to all these different diseases that they're all autoimmune. There's 175 autoimmune diseases now, and there's none. You only have a label. It's going to tell you where you have tissue that is decomposing, okay, because there's an infection in there, heavy metals, parasitical, chemicals, okay, and they're locked in. If you can get those out, or you can dismantle that, there's no autoimmune disease. The body does not attack itself. The body attacks the poison that's in the organ, in the joint, in the tissue. That's it. You can't give me any science to prove it. So let's just get rid of that. And once you get rid of that, now you're more empowered, aren't you? Because I have an autoimmune disease, and then right away you go to incurable. So now you're incurable. So if I'm incurable, I only have one choice. And that choice is to take drugs to numb myself out so that, you know what, I can make it a smoother ride to the end. What do you think?
Yeah, that's scary. I know we're just about out of time. In 10 minutes, I have to run. But number 6. And this is the last one, and then there's an overall summary. So let me get through this part. So number 6, minimal side effects. And then in brackets, it says, if managed well. Then it says 150 ppm is a moderate and manageable concentration if sprayed in small daily doses. It would avoid problems like iodine toxicity or thyroid suppression, as long as protocols were smart. And then in brackets, it says, especially for sensitive groups like people with autoimmune thyroid disease. So one of the things that people are always scared about ODing on iodine, and there's a lot of papers I've been reading recently that doctors throughout time have disputed this, because the Japanese and the Chileans and different people that eat a lot of iodide, mostly they in the world of journalism or in medical papers or whatever it is, they say iodine. But it's not iodine that we're consuming. In fact, the only place in nature we actually consume molecular iodine, other than infinite iodine, is when you're walking by the ocean and lightning strikes the ocean close to where you are. So there's a lightning storm close to where you are. It converts iodide, so the 1,000 tons of iodide that's emanating off of the ocean every day, all around the globe, goes up into the atmosphere and balances the Earth inside of the stratosphere. So a lot of people will tell you that the origin of life is fungus. And there is absolute truth in that. But what I'm now realizing is it's a reaction between iodide and fungus that is scientifically the origin of life. So this iodide goes up into the atmosphere and balances the Earth inside of the stratosphere. All life on Earth requires iodide. And it's actually some of the studies we have kind of state that it's more important than oxygen for a human being. But getting back to my consuming of molecular iodine in nature, so the lightning strikes, the iodide gets converted into molecular iodine in the ozone, and you're now breathing that. Remember when people were sick, we would send them to the sea to convalesce, and that's been throughout history. You know, according to some of the books that I've read, we've understood the power and the value of iodide for our health going back to 15,000 years BC. They found sea sponges in medicine huts, and so they understood that there was some value there. According to our books, the knowledge of iodine started in the 1800s, beginning of the 1800s, with gunpowder. But you know, this is very limited. Obviously, we know that we've known about these things, and many cultures called iodine the God molecule. But it's the iodide that goes into the body and does all this conversion. When you're taking infinite iodine, you're getting something incredible. You're getting this walk by the ocean, breathing in this molecular iodine possibility that's never been possible. Remember, all the chemists that we're working with are saying that they don't believe that we can do it because the science books say it's impossible. So. And then, so that's iodine toxicity. So the overall summary is that it could upgrade global health, intelligence, immunity, and cancer resistance in ways that we have never seen before, likely ranking among the most important public health innovations of the 21st century. And Terry Mullins, God rest his soul, when I met him 5.5 years ago and I started working with him on this journey to bring this to the world, he was the science and I was the talking head. I felt that this was going to be a revolution, and I said to him, "You could win a Nobel Peace Prize for this." And I truly believe that that's possible for Terry. And when it says likely ranking among the most important public health innovations of the 21st century, infinite iodine in that little bottle is just an incredible innovation.
Thank you, Philip. That's amazing. And I don't think we're talking about it, but I don't think people understand the actual powerful potential this has on the human race and bringing up their vibration, feeding their spirit, actually being in the present moment. Yes, taking iodine brings you back to the present moment. It brings back your mental clarity. And that's a fact. And without it, we already know that up to 30% of the mentality of your baby is dependent on doing iodine through the whole pregnancy. And guess what? Guess who should be loading up on iodine 6 months before the pregnancy? The man. If he doesn't, then guess what? We've got a problem with the sperm. Okay? So do your homework, do your research, understand that. Okay? So 6 months prior.
Testosterone and energy. I mean, that's all guys need to, testosterone and energy. That's all guys need to know. I mean, yes. There's so many products on the market for libido. It's like pine pollen and this and this and this and this. And I know guys are trying all this stuff and they're saying,
And
I don't really know.
oysters and
Oh, no, the truth is it is, well, and oysters have a lot of iodine in them. Those kinds of shellfish. And some people will say, oh, I'm allergic to shellfish. You're not allergic to iodine. Or sorry, they'll say they're allergic to iodine. They're not allergic to iodine. You can't be. It's impossible to be allergic to the most important element on the planet for your survival. You're allergic to something in those shellfish. And there's certain cultures that won't even eat that food because of health reasons. They say, they're
well, the
dirty.
same as the kelp, the oysters are cleaning the bottom of the ocean. They're the garbage collectors.
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe not the best thing to eat, but I'm not saying people shouldn't eat oysters. If you're eating oysters and you're loving them and you're feeling great, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm really sorry. I do need to go.
No, don't be really sorry, okay? Just have the best day of your life.
I am, and I really appreciate this. It's always a huge uplift for me to get to be with you. I'm so glad that we're doing this together, and thank you so much for working tirelessly. You just always are going, and I know I've been at events, and everybody's pulling at Daryl, because you gotta help me with this, you gotta help me with this, you gotta help me with this, and he's just always, yeah, I'll do that. Give me a minute, I'll be right there. It's always like that. So you're a beautiful guy, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. The Braveheart Nation app is amazing. I love it, and I wish I had more time on it. But if you're looking to uplift your life, everything that you bring to the table is of huge value. So thank you.
And you know what? You know what we just did? We just put our first down payment down. And we're creating the biggest advanced water fasting app that will guide everybody with such care they can build their own fast on it. Anyways, have a great day.
I need to do that. I need to do that.
Yeah. Well,
I need to do that. I know I do. I keep thinking that I do.
We're launching it. We're launching We'll be launching that at Christmas. That'll be everybody's Christmas gift.
Cool.
All right? And I'd like to, if we could, can we meet same time next week? Okay?
Next Friday?
Yes.
I'll put you in. Absolutely.
I'm going to call you. I'll call you this afternoon, okay?
Okay, beautiful.
All right? Thank you, my friend.
So
always, you're a blessing. You're really, I love, yeah. Great. Thank you.
Love you, Daryl. Thank you so much.
Love you too, buddy.
Bye.
Well, there you go. And yeah, there's people that you just love to do interviews with, and the information is so powerful. And I'm telling you, we have the best iodine on this planet. I don't know about any other planets, but we really do. And it does what it's supposed to do. Let me just answer some questions here. Okay. The price of it, well, it all depends, everybody. You can get a 1 ounce bottle, or you can get a spray bottle and get a 4 ounce, okay? And get a 4 ounce in here. Or we've made this really reasonable. Or you can get, okay, a 16 ounce bottle. So you can check it, and we have sales on, and a lot of people will stock up when we have the sales. And like I said, nebulizing, it's so cost effective. You have no idea. And you should be nebulizing every day. You wouldn't have a cold, you wouldn't get the flu. I haven't had a cold or a flu for at least a quarter of a century. And I don't get sick because I don't believe in diseases. I already talked about that earlier. And you can believe them if you want, but if you believe in them, you're going to be feeding them, okay? Sandy says iodine works, infinite iodine works. I had a growth on my thyroid and started with the infinite iodine and castor oil. It's almost gone. Also, if you've got it on your thyroid, also take a look at using either DMSO cream or DMSO gel, but also getting a clapper, okay, and clapping the actual thyroid area. I'm serious, okay? Actually, clap the thyroid area. And you want to clap the area because wherever you've got a growth, you've got a block. And the reason why you've got pain, you've got pressure, and you've got the growth is it's storing the infection and the inflammation. But if you clap the area and increase the circulation, that'll help to bring it down. And take a look at the DMSO gel or the DMSO cream, okay? Can infinite iodine help me since my thyroid has been removed? Well, of course it can. You know, your parathyroid used it as well, and you already heard that it works right down to the mitochondrial level. It gets, you heard all the different things, how it helps your immune system, brings down infection, dismantles viruses, neutralizes bad bacteria, spraying it in your mouth, okay, will help against cavities, getting rid of gum disease. And gum disease is bum disease, guys, just so you know that, you know. You know, you roll over, try to give your husband a kiss, and you go, oh my God, someone pooped in your mouth. Understand that, you know, 99% of the population are rotting out in their large intestine now. I hope you know that colon cancer, okay, was at 52 50 years ago. That was 52, as in it was 52nd. Then 25 years ago, it was number 25. Now, colon cancer is now just edging on to number 2. It is the second leading cause of cancer, okay? And if you don't know it, how many people have halitosis? 99 out of 100. Halitosis is because the gas rises off of that rotting manure pile in your large intestine. So, you know, really take a look at daily cleansing tea and black gold, everyone, and if you want to have not rotting teeth, if you want to not have halitosis, but you can spray the infinite iodine. You don't need to do what I do, but I do. I do 20 sprays in the morning, and I do 20 sprays at night before I go to bed, and I do that in the back of my throat. Okay? All right? Did you say I can take this in conjunction with my synthroid? Yes, you can. And whether you want to believe this or not, that I take my, okay, for Hashimoto's. And just know this, everyone. I'm not telling you, but you know what? There's been studies done. And Philip was part of a really large study with Terry Mullins. And that when you do infinite iodine, people give up their synthroid. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep it really light and easy because I have to do that. But understand something. Infinite iodine is what you're lacking. You're not lacking synthroid. You're not lacking a drug. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? And like I said earlier, Hashimoto's is iodine deficiency, but it's also this, anxiety. You know, and that's the God's truth. Take a look at anybody with Hashimoto's, and you're going to find out they're running an anxiety program, and most people don't even know it. They just think it's part of their personality, right? Why do you suppose that magnesium is in a cyst? Well, because a cyst is actually a sac of mucus and bad bacteria, and the magnesium comes into it to keep it more loose, and it, because wherever you're going to get infection, you're going to be pulling on calcium, and then it will get calcified. The magnesium keeps it from becoming a calcified cyst. All right? But how long that's going to last, I don't know. But magnesium, remember what it does? It relaxes things, okay? It helps to heal things, all right? And magnesium is one of the most deficient minerals in human beings because we live in a contracted society, contracted in our mind, okay, contracted in our body, even with our workouts, where everything is about contraction, not relaxation, not expansion, okay? So magnesium's trying to expand you, it's trying to relax you, and most people are burning through it so fast. Take a look at Beyond Ormus Minerals magnesium spray and spray over any area that you have pain. You'll be getting the world's most powerful electrical minerals. That's right. Beyond Ormus Minerals magnesium spray has the highest absorption of magnesium that will go through the skin into the bloodstream. It really will. And these are the highest electrical charge minerals on the planet. Now, people will call BS on me because they'll go, you can't have this many products and then say that it's the best. Well, we have a third-party study proving that as an electrolyte drink, our Beyond Ormus minerals are the highest electrical potential of any mineral for electrolyte drink on the planet. And that's the truth. All right? What did he say about the... I'm not sure what that is. I have Lyme rheumatoid arthritis. I would like to up my infinite iodine. I'm taking 7 sprays 2 times a day. How much more can I take? Well, you know, if it was affordable, and the most affordable way is to get the larger bottle, okay, of infinite iodine. And if I was in your situation, I'd be doing 20 sprays 3 times a day. If you can't afford it, go 3 times a day. The number 3 is really good, okay? And if it's a really chronic problem, you go 6 times a day. You just keep it in there. Remember something, if you've got a 20-foot hole, a 2-foot ladder is not going to get you out, even if you climb it 10 times. Got what I'm saying? So the reality is you know, let's keep your body, your bloodstream, infinite iodine rich. Because remember, it's infection that creates inflammation that degrades your immune system. That's all. That's it. That's all. That's what it is. So if you have rheumatoid arthritis, which there is no such thing, arthritis just means inflammation in the joint, and rheumatoid means that you've pulled calcium out of your bones and into the joint, and you're calcifying your joints. And you also, from the inflammation, remember arthritis means inflammation in the joint. The inflammation is a flame, and it's dehydrating the tendons, the ligaments, and the little muscles around the joints. So now they're like beef jerky, okay? That's what rheumatoid arthritis is. It is not a disease. It is dehydration due to inflammation, the inflammation due to infection, okay? And I can prove it. Everything is about balance in the body. And if I had rheumatoid arthritis, let's say it was in your joints, I'm not sure where you have it, but I would, again, be putting on that area maybe a little bit of DMSO gel, okay? All right? I would really be doing that, okay? Let me see here. Rachel, it all makes so much sense now. I have had all the symptoms and seen all the doctors, and all they did was write me prescriptions and call me crazy. I wanted real answers and root causes. I can't thank you enough for this movement in real healthcare. I have hope for my children and the future. Rachel, you can call me too, love. Your children mean everything to me. Okay? All right? And I'm going to tell you, if you're going to go to a medical doctor, please don't be angry at them. They all nurses, all doctors, everybody in healthcare, they got into healthcare to help people. You know, come on. Look at how many people go to the medical doctors and they deal with drugs. Come on. Surgery, radiation, chemo, and then they send you to a specialist when they can't help you, and they just give you stronger drugs. I mean, seriously, everyone? Isn't it a shame that we have to go for tests continually because we never pass the test? And the test is creating a perfect day for ourselves. I haven't been to a doctor in, honestly, you're probably not going to believe me, but since I was 23 years old, I have not been to a doctor. And I haven't broken anything, so if I broke something, or I could go to the doctor, but I've never been to the doctor for any kind of ailment or anything like that, and I'm never going to go. And remember something, and you can go, well, you know, he's pretty cocky, and I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm trying to tell you, if you say something that almost nobody says, they call you cocky, right? Right? You're never going to see me with a cold or flu, not because I'm hiding in the bedroom, and you're not going to see me with that disease because disease does not exist. I already told you, they're just labels. They're just labels, okay? And there are no genetic diseases. There are no autoimmune diseases. You're going to go, yes, I have one. Well, no, you have an imbalance, okay, of infection that created inflammation that caused scar tissue formation, calcification, and you can call it mutation, but it's not. It's just what happened was the mitochondria that lives in your cells that makes the ATP are now damaged. That's all. And you can reverse that. How much iodine to put in the nebulizer? Only as much as you're going to nebulize. That's it. Just put in as much as you're going to nebulize. That might even be like a, 1/6 of a teaspoon. That's all you're going to need. And the other thing too, when I turn on my nebulizer, okay, I mean, this is the most inexpensive way and this is the most powerful. Oh yeah. You know what? I tell this story and I hope that you haven't heard it a million times, but the FDA threw out 350 of these nebulizers in the garbage. Told me if I ever sold nebulizers again, they'd shut my website down. Yeah, and you know what? You can buy a nebulizer anywhere. You go to Amazon, there's tons of nebulizers. But you know what? What are they, like crazy? No, it was what I was putting in the nebulizer. I mean, you can put. Remember, I showed you earlier, Megagen. Okay, you can put infinite iodine in here. You could put Bright Eyes Fulvic in it. Okay, you could put in Silver Bullet Immunity in your nebulizer. That's what really pissed them off. Trust me. That's what really got them going. Okay, it wasn't the nebulizer. Okay. Why are we not able to get iodide? I'm going to tell you why. We used to sell infinite iodide. What if I told you you don't need it? What if I told you infinite iodine gets changed into infinite iodide? We didn't need it. We did enough studies to prove that we don't have to sell infinite iodide. Infinite iodine, okay, does it all. Okay, so if I would have kept selling infinite iodide, I'd be ripping you off. Okay, and I get accused of that all the time anyways because I'm a snake oil natural health practitioner salesman. But you know what? I'm not going to sell somebody something that they don't need. Infinite iodine grabs all the infinite iodine, everything that iodine should do, and the infinite iodine, your body changes it into infinite iodide. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sell you something you don't need. All right? And understand something. If you actually got a consult from me, you would know that I don't do that. We don't load you up I will load you up and front end load you. If you've got a 20-foot hole, I got to do a 20-foot ladder. But as you start climbing out of that hole, we're going to back off on the products. And just know why you've never gotten well. You've never gotten well for two reasons. You didn't front end load of the right products. And understand something, you don't have to take 20 different things. That is the craziest thing of all. I mean, you go to some natural health practitioners, and I'm not putting anybody down, and you walk away with $10,000 and a bag full. And then guess what? Here's the biggest problem. You don't get support. Anybody that gets a consultation from Sandra, my assistant, who's a master practitioner, they pay $150. They get lifetime support. Call as much as you want to Sandra. If you can't get her, you call me. You think I'm kidding? We answer every phone call. Okay, and if you come to me, you're going to pay $350. But I'm going to bring the thunder down, and I'm going to be your guide, be your coach. I'm going to be your vitamin C, your courageous support. You hear what I'm saying? We're not going to make false promises. Okay, we're not going to tell you we're going to cure you because the body cures itself. But I'm telling you right now, I carry the best nutraceuticals in the world, and I've traveled the world, and I know they are. Okay, all right. Amanda, you can click. Okay, that's nice, Amanda. She's helping somebody out. I use infinite iodine daily, and it is a game changer for me. Christine. Which one is more effective, the spray or the nebulizer? Well, the reality is that you want to do both, okay? It's very cost effective. You want to do both. You want to spray and nebulize. And I can prove why you do both. And you want to do both. And remember something, you can put infinite iodine in your eyes. Oh yeah. Guess what? You know what? Yeah, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to put these back on. These are called Tesla eyewear, by the way. And I'm not going to go blind for anyone or get cataracts, thank you. So you can put infinite iodine in your eyes and it'll disinfect your eyes. It'll help against cataracts, glaucoma, detached retina, floaters, myopia. It can even help to reverse that because it's not a cure. It's actually creating cellular balance within the eyes. But remember something, most eye damage is now being caused by blue light poisoning. Blue light poisoning actually is the most toxic thing on our planet right now. And whether you want to believe it or not, it's doing brain damage, it's causing neurological diseases, it's creating turbo diseases in anyone who has one. And the reality is that why do you think 5,000 teenagers are getting cataracts diagnosed every day? Why do you think that optometrists are making so much money? And they're not doctors. They're not doctors at all. If you've got an eyesight problem, you want to call me, I don't mind. It'll take me 5 minutes. I'll tell you what I did. You know, I used to wear prescription glasses. I don't wear prescription glasses. I don't even wear readers anymore. Okay? Brett Shields used the big F-bomb word. Can you please delete his message? I don't want anybody swearing on my site. Thank you. And when you see that, please, don't delete him, just delete the message. Okay, thank you. Again, somebody's saying how much iodine to use in nebulizer depends on how much you want to do. So let's say I start to nebulize, okay? All right, so you can see it coming out, right? Look. Right, and I can just nebulize and just keep going, but let's say that you have what they call stage 4, okay? All right, who's trying to get in? Can you see who's trying to get on Zoom, please? Is that Cheryl? Is there another show, guys? And when? In 5 minutes? 10 minutes, okay, all right. So I got to get off for Judy because I don't want to get in trouble with Judy Michaelbitz. Okay, all right, because that would not go well. All right, here we go. So when you nebulize, everyone, okay, you're going to breathe in and out, and then when you start to feel like you're going to cough, just take a break and shut it off, and then start it up again. And if you have weak lungs, just do one and then off and on and off and on. That's all you're going to do. And eventually, guess what? I don't care if you got COPD, you got bronchitis. Oh my gosh, I've got weak lungs. I've had lung surgery. They say I've got the big C in my lungs. Guess what? You're not going to hurt yourself. And you can nebulize, like I said, the infinite iodine or the bright ice fulvate nano drops or the silver bullet immunity, or you can nebulize the calcium ion therapy. And understand, people will come to Mexico to get calcium ion therapy and pay thousands of dollars, and believe it or not, nebulizing it is more powerful, okay? And that's not going to cost you all that much. All right. Why infinite iodine help with a cyst in my daughter's stomach while she's 2 months pregnant? Yeah, it definitely will. If you want to give me a call, though, there's other things that your daughter should do. Okay, if she's 2 months pregnant, you better get the iodine into her, because guess what? If she has a cyst, the baby's going to have a cyst. A cyst is mucus and bad bacteria. Okay, all right. Thank you. So anyways, let's keep talking. Somebody said, replying to Yvonne Neighbor nebulizer. I don't know. Get yourself a good nebulizer. Go take a look at how many people like the nebulizers, you know, the quality of them. You'll find that on Amazon or go to your drugstore. Just make sure that you can return it, especially these. They've been known to break. So just make sure that you can return it if it stops working on you, okay? But of course, quality is the key, all right? I use iodine under my armpits. Well, that's great, but guess what? You want to clap, and you don't need to use a clapper, but you want to clap, okay? You want to clap with your hands under your armpits. You clap with your hands first, 1 to 2 minutes under here every day, especially you women. Clap with your hands, and then you can spray the iodine. Get the lymph moving. You know, if you go like this and you squeeze under here and it feels like you've got fat, you don't have fat, you've got a congested lymph under your armpits. Hi, Cheryl, how you doing? Well, unmute her.
There, now